Hey, what's up guys, Metal here. Today I wanted to go over like a review for the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019 beta. So I just wanted to go over, start with the things I liked. We'll start with a little like preference thing that's kind of neutral in my opinion, and then some cons. So let's start with things I like. I like the gun feeling. Whoever they did the consultation with, apparently they went out and shot more real guns for this development. I think it feels really good. I love the way the recoil feels, how some guns it even kicks down, which is can be realistic depending on what kind of muzzle device you use and what kind of gun it is. Because you're like overcompensating the recoil on the muzzle anyway. The attention to detail on the reloads is really good. Just the way that everything felt as far as the gun handling went was really awesome. The movement system feels good. It feels a little bit clunky. It's not like you're floating. I mean, clunky not in a bad way, but like, you know, it doesn't feel floaty like kind of some of the older cons. It feels more modern. You've got the new tactical sprint system, which again I think feels really good. So you could double tap sprint, and then your character will run with his gun up. It'll make you run even faster, but your sprint out time will be worse. You can't do it as much as you can regular sprint. You can regular sprint infinitely, but you can only tactical sprint fairly limited amounts. The climbing and vaulting is good. There's a lot of spots on the maps now that you can kind of climb up into windows and do like, you know, jumps across things and stuff like that. It's kind of reminiscent of the older CODs that I missed. The changes to creative class I like. So they got rid of pick 10, which personally I never really liked pick 10 because it felt like you were always skimping on important parts of your class. So we're back to having just your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, your attachments, your perks, your grenade, your lethal, and your tactical. So you get all those all the time, and I prefer that system. The gunsmith mode, where you put attachments on your guns, is really cool. So now as you level your guns, you unlock attachments, and the higher level you get, the more interesting the attachments get. And they basically allow you to specialize your gun. So a lot of them, well, for instance, there was a choice of barrels, which would allow you to have, you know, quicker ADS time but less range and more recoil, or, you know, having more steady ADS with less flinch and less idle sway, but it takes longer to ADS. So I think that all these, you know, these ideas are good. This game lets you put up to 5 attachments on your weapon, and a lot of the weapons have like 8 or 9 different attachment slots to choose from. Now, it's hard to tell from the beta, but I do remember from some of the reveal multiplayer gameplay that it looked like there was as many as like 4 to 6 or more attachments on each slot. So I'm pretty excited for this system, and it feels like, you know, you actually get to be, it kind of adds to the operator fantasy when you get to add, like, you know, a shitload of things to your gun. The new modes are good. I like Ground War a lot. I think Ground War is my favorite thing in the beta. You know, 32v32, the map was pretty clustered together. There was always, you know, if you were using a vehicle, there was good positions to be, but if you were an infantryman, you could be inside the buildings. You wouldn't have to be afraid of vehicles, and you could have nice big scale infantry versus infantry fights. You could go on a lot of big streaks. It was a lot of fun. And then the 2v2, which is also a new mode, was surprisingly fun and competitive. You know, had some pretty good adrenaline rush and heart thumping rounds in it. Also, the night vision mode is really awesome. I think it's the most realistic night vision in any shooter. Most games you turn on night vision and it makes everything turn green, and that is not Call of Duty. So Call of Duty, when you turn on night vision, it's more realistic in that you see everything is green, yes, but you aim your gun with a laser because you can't really get it's hard to get your eye behind a sight when you have a, you know, 6-inch long tube hanging off of your eye. You can see other players aiming lasers. But the other interesting thing is that there's light switches on the maps, and there's some decently well lit areas that you may actually decide to take off your night vision so you can go back to using your regular sight. That way you can pre-aim an area without other people seeing your laser. I found myself actually doing that quite a bit, especially on the more urban map in the beta, that there was enough well lit hallways and well lit windows and such that I could actually just take off my night vision and shoot people without them because they're expecting to see the laser, they're expecting you know, all these things that come with night vision mode, but, you know, I would kind of circumvent that and tactically take off my night vision. The hit registration, hitboxes, the lag, the netcode mostly felt pretty solid. I had a couple iffy moments with like rubber banding and laggy people like teleporting around corners and stuff, but I think most of that was in Ground War, and I expect that they're going to fix that because, you know, again, it's just the first time they've had such a large mode in Call of Duty. The crossplay seemed to work well. I was expecting controller players to get beat up on more than they actually did. I still think that mouse and keyboard is an advantage, but I think that, you know, as far as between the map design and the amount of aim assist and stuff that they gave console players, I think that it's actually pretty fair for the most part. I think that if you're a good console player, you'll be able to beat up on most PC players. So I think they did a good job with that. So that's all the things I wanted to list for things I liked. Now there's kind of one thing that is more of a preference. The map design is back to the older style of the early COD games, like COD 4, World at War, Modern Warfare 2, where the maps are a bit random. They're more realistic. It's not neat 3-lane symmetrical maps anymore. So some people don't like that. I mean, personally, I see a place for both. If Call of Duty is going to come out every year, I don't see why the game needs to be the same. So, you know, there's a lot of 3-lane symmetrical maps in Black Ops 4, and Black Ops 4 isn't going anywhere. You can always go back and play Black Ops 4 if you want that kind of map. This map's going to have more realistic ones. They're going to be less symmetrical. It's going to be more random. You know, you got to have more worry about you got to be worried about more angles. So, you know, again, I don't mind that. It's just a preference. Now, the downsides to the game. The spawns need work, especially in Headquarters and Ground War. I felt like the spawns in the normal modes, not Ground War, the spawns felt too strict. It was too hard to flip them. It was pretty easy to spawn trap, and it was difficult to get out. And also, it sometimes felt like people were... like in Headquarters, you could actually get both teams to where some of the positions, especially on Grozna Raid, the 10v10 map, you would all be, say, in the train station headquarters. You would destroy the headquarters after killing the whole enemy team, and the whole enemy team would spawn right on top of you, and there is a whole 2/3 of the map that is still available for them to spawn on. So there's some funky stuff going on. And then Ground War was really bad. There were people spawning in my vision, you know, watching a kill cam and spawning on top of the other player that was in the kill cam, even across the map. There's just a lot of funky stuff going on there. They said that they're gonna fix the spawns for Ground War before release. They said they're gonna be working on the spawns specifically on the Reddit. So I don't know how worried to be about this. I'm still buying the game anyway. So I'm clearly not that worried, and even if the spawns are not much better, I'll still have fun most of the time. So
oh, well. Yeah, I'm not that crazy about it.
The balancing and menus are a bit weird. So
oh, the other thing, when you run sleight of hand, it actually doesn't just speed up the animation.
It says positive, clear sight picture, negative, slower aim down sight, or something like that. And okay, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that you'd aim down sight slower with a red dot for one. But the other weird thing is that it doesn't actually appear to change your aim down sight significantly. I think some people tested it. It's Exclusive Ace, who's like a statistics YouTuber for Call of Duty. He found that's only like 1 frame slower. So it really doesn't matter. But like, it just seems strange. Personally, I feel like if you're going to balance a red dot, the opportunity cost of taking a red dot instead of one other attachment is plenty for it. I don't think that you need to balance it any other way. But it just seems weird that the menus seem to say some of these things that don't always make sense. They don't, or they're not correct. So there's more examples of it. Apparently, the muzzle brake doesn't actually reduce your ADS time, I've heard, or I've heard that the flip up magnifier sight is supposed to have a faster aim down sight, which A, doesn't make any sense, but B, I've also heard that that is actually a downside of it, that it actually has slower aim down sight. So there's just, again, a lot of weirdness there. The weapon balance is kind of off. Alright, the M4 is the best gun. I max leveled every gun in the beta. It was painful. I did it. I max leveled all of them, every assault rifle, every SMG. And honestly, I can tell you as someone who did that, there is no reason to use anything but the M4. The M13 has less recoil, but the time to kill is so much slower that you may as well just use an M4. The MP5 has better handling characteristics, but again, time to kill is so much slower, you could just outfit the M4 to have better handling, and you'd have a better gun. The AK is just not good, really. I like using it, I like the way it feels, because I like AKs, but if I was trying to be competitive, I would never use an AK, I would always use an M4. The SA-80 as an LMG, the SA-87, I don't see how you're ever going to balance that effectively, because if the idea is that it's an LMG that's kind of more like an assault rifle with 30 rounds, you're going to have to give it significant benefits over assault rifles to justify the 30 round magazine. Because like the main reason you'd use an LMG is that it has a 100 round drum fed or whatever, or it has a 100 round belt fed. So I'm not sure what they're going to do, because if it feels more like an LMG than an AR, you could just use any other LMG, and if it feels more like an AR than an LMG, why wouldn't I just use an M4? So, yeah, there's going to be some issues with those sorts of things. I don't think give it another pass. I think that the snipers are pretty much okay as they are, for the most part. The M14 is a marksman rifle that seems to have a lot of aim punch, and that, besides that, it'd be fine. But it seems to have way more aim punch than any other gun. I don't know if that's intentional or not. The shotguns could use being more consistent. The double barrel was absolutely the worst gun I had to max level. That gun felt terrible. I would shoot people with it twice, then jump back to cover and shoot people with it twice again to kill them. That really shouldn't be happening. And in close quarters, not like at the edge of its range. So that's my opinions on balance. The M4 is hands down the best gun. You should always use the M4, and that's a problem. The Killstreaks. Oh, before I move on to the Killstreaks, one last thing on the weapon balancing. There is a possibility that because the weapon cap, level cap, was lower than it will be in the release, there weren't all the attachments in. Maybe there will be attachments that give more reason to use other guns, but at the same time, there's probably going to be attachments that give more reason to use the M4. So it's hard for me to say what the balance of the full game will be from the beta, but I suspect, again, that it will be too M4 heavy. Now, actually, on to the Killstreaks. In my opinion, the Killstreaks are fun. I think the kill requirements are about right, although the white phosphorus could use a buff if it's going to compete with Chopper Gunner. The main reason to use it is for the war crime memes. Anyway, I like that the Killstreaks are a little lower than the average Call of Duty game, because it seems like over the last decade or so of Call of Duty, Killstreaks have gotten slowly inflated to a point where it takes like 4 or 5 kills to get UAVs and shit like that. So I don't like that. I think that going back to the Killstreak system where the requirements are a bit lower is good. However, I don't like that it doesn't reward any objective play. I think the best thing for this game would be going back to a system like Modern Warfare 3. So when they called it point streaks, and when you capped a flag in domination, for instance, or you planted a bomb in search and destroy, or you defused a bomb, or anything like that, any objective completion counted the same as 1 kill. It's not going to be like Black Ops, where if you shoot somebody while you're capping a flag, and then you cap the flag and you get a kill on an attacking guy, that you get like a gazillion more points than if you had killed a couple of dudes off the flag. I don't like that system, but I think we should be rewarding objective play somehow. I don't think that having it be just Killstreak strictly is actually a good move in the game. Alright guys, that's been my opinions on the new Call of Duty. Overall, I really enjoyed it a lot. I actually give it a solid recommend from me, based on the beta, that it is going to be a good game when it comes out. Hopefully the microtransactions aren't too egregious. But besides that, I did really enjoy my time with it. I'm struggling to think of what I'm going to play for the next month, and I'm excited for it to come back. So, appreciate everyone stopping by to listen to my opinion on the beta. If you enjoyed that video, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you know when I upload more. My Discord server, Twitch, Patreon, and all my other social media are in the description if you want to follow me, get in touch, or support the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.